The fractured relationship between President Trump, Donald John Trump, House Democrat slams Donald Trump Jr. 4. Serious case of amnesia. After testimony, skier Lindsey Vonn I don't want to represent Trump at Olympics. Poll 4 in 10 Republicans think senior Trump advisors had improper dealings with Russia. Moore and his former chief strategist Stephen Bannon took center stage on Thursday as questions mounted about Bannon's political future. The heaviest blow for Bannon came as one of his most important financial backers, Rebecca Mercer, issued a rare public rebuke of the strategist in a statement first reported by The Washington Post on Thursday afternoon. Republican politicians who have long disliked Bannon, including Rep. Pete Thomas King, the 13 House Republicans who voted against the GOP tax plan. House passes sweeping tax bill in huge victory for GOP. House GOP set for big tax win. More NY. And, reportedly, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Addison Mitch Mitchell McConnell GOP strategist donates to Alabama Democrat. McConnell names Senate GOP tax conferees Brent Budowski a plea to Alabama voters. More RKY have been gratified by his apparent demise. Even conservative strategists who harbor some sympathy for Bannon are shocked at the speed of his apparent fall. Bannon has pretty effectively marginalized himself, with inexplicable speed, said one long-established Republican strategist, who added that Bannon had lost a war of words with the president, a former Trump aide. Meanwhile, when asked about Bannon's future, replied Riley, time of death 1:20 p.m. The former aide was referring to Trump's Wednesday statement in which he excoriated Bannon as having lost his mind. Trump's statement added, Steve doesn't represent my base, he's only in it for himself. To Bannon skeptics, the strategist has destroyed his own main asset, his proximity to Trump. Bannon was an early enthusiast for Trump's candidacy and took over as de facto leader of the campaign in August 2016 when conventional wisdom held that it was doomed, but his influence may have reached its high water mark when he was appointed chief strategist at the outset of the Trump presidency. He soon became embroiled in infighting and made powerful enemies, including Jared Kushner. Hid Corey Kushner-Trump team working on Mideast peace plan. Unconventional, but perfectly qualified, U.S. attorney fired by Trump Mueller team likely looking at everyone additional. Trump transition official identified who knew about Flynn's Russia contact. Report Moore, the president's son-in-law. He was pushed out of the White House last August, soon after John Francis Kelly Moore took over as chief of staff. His alienation from Trump world appears to have been made complete with his comments to author Michael Wolff in a new book about the White House. In particular, Bannon's description of a June 2016 Trump Tower meeting as treasonous infuriated the White House. At that encounter, Donald Trump Jr. Donald Don John Trump filed paperwork to transfer businesses. Moore, Kushner and then campaign chairman Paul John Manafort judge warns Manafort not to discuss case with media. Manafort involved in drafting opt defending his Ukrainian work. Court papers. Trump went off on Manafort for suggesting he should not appear on Sunday shows. Report Moore met with a Russian lawyer. Trump Jr. had been told in an email in advance of the meeting that the lawyer might have dirt on Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. Diane Rodham Clinton grossly blasts Democrats over unwillingness to probe Clinton. GOP lawmakers cite new allegations of political bias in FBI top intel. Dem Trump Jr. refused to answer questions about Trump Tower discussions with Father Moore and that this was being provided as part of Russia and its government's support for Mr. Trump. Bannon loyalists insist that predictions of his demise are premature and suggest the White House has overreacted. But they acknowledge that this most recent break with Trump is dispiriting. It's a family fight. They always get back together, said one source close to Bannon. But this person also admitted, this one could take some time. The same source insisted, however, that Bannon retained enormous influence with the conservative base, influence that could be deployed in forthcoming Senate primaries, where Bannon has encouraged hard-right candidates to run against incumbent Republicans. The source said that this week's furor puts a damper on those efforts, but there are a lot of voters out there still on Steve's side, including the millions of Breitbart readers. Even Bannon's place at the helm of the website seemed in fresh danger on Thursday evening. However, Mercer, who with her father, billionaire Robert Mercer, is one of the most important funders of conservative political activities, came down hard on Bannon. Rebecca Mercer is a major shareholder in Breitbart, having agreed to buy her father's shares in the organization in November. I support President Trump and the platform upon which he was elected, Mercer said, according to the Post. My family and I have not communicated with Steve Bannon. Steve Kevin Bannon, owner of Bannon's DC house, requests fence for security reasons. Bannon Roy Moore accuses trying to destroy a man's life. Billionaire Trump backer cuts ties with Milo Yiannopoulos more in many months and have provided no financial support to his political agenda, nor do we support his recent actions and statements. The New York Times reported that the Mercers had also cut off funding for Bannon's private security detail. There has been some speculation that, if Bannon retains control of Breitbart, the site could adopt a more critical stance toward Trump. But others in the conservative world disputed that idea, and Bannon himself praised the president during his Breitbart-branded SiriusXM radio show on Wednesday night. If Breitbart wanted to shift its approach, GOP strategist Alex Conant said, it would have to be a slow and gradual shift. Breitbart, for the last 2 years, has been mostly a pro-Trump site. They would immediately lose a lot of readers if they became anti-Trump. Conant, who worked for Sen. Marco Antonio Rubio pledges entitlement reform in 2018. Richard Gere welcomes lawmakers' words of support for Tibet. Dem lawmaker gives McConnell's tax reform up to failing grade more RFLA. During the 2016 GOP presidential primaries, was one of several sources who, though not Bannon allies, cautioned against counting him out. Bannon is so good at generating media for himself that it is hard to imagine he will disappear. Conant said. He will continue to be a voice in American politics for the foreseeable future, but others insisted that Bannon's success in the past should not be confused with his claims that he could be a player in the primaries leading up to this year's midterm elections. As an outside-the-box thinking strategist and tactician, he was effective on several fronts, said the senior Republican strategist. But there is no Bannon constituency. There isn't a legion, or even a small group of Bannon activists in Arizona or in some other state that can have an impact on an election. This strategist argued that the idea that Bannon would foment some kind of schism among populist or hard-right activists and voters was overdone. There had been discontent with Washington Republicans among grassroots conservatives for years before Bannon became a national figure. The source argued, it was not within Bannon's power to direct them in one way or another. In another sign-off, how alienated Bannon has become from Trump. White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders played down the relationship between the two men at Thursday's media briefing. I'm not aware that they were ever particularly close, she said. Still, the storm over Bannon, the Wolf Book and more has buffeted a White House that had been showing some signs of stabilization after the passage of a tax bill last month. That in itself is a problem, at least to some eyes. It's a huge distraction and takes away momentum from their recent legislative wins, said Conant. I can't imagine a worse way for a White House to start its second year. It feeds Trump's detractors' worst fears and it needlessly divides his supporters. He is fueling the opposition while fighting with his base. The memo is a reported column by Niall Stanage, primarily focused on Donald Trump's presidency. Jonathan Easley contributed.